There are many luxuries that we use in our daily lives that we not only take for granted but are going to rapidly diminish as climate change continues to take its toll on our society.
There is going to be a lot of change in our environment. Plants and animals are at risk of going extinct, and that is going to affect our daily diets. There is most likely going to be an extreme shortage of food and clean water, which will plummet our economy. The middle class is going to become poor, and the poor is going to become further impoverished, while the rich are going to struggle to adjust to the change in lifestyle. The supply for our basic survival needs like food, water, and shelter are going to become uncertain.
There is no doubt that the products we use every day by consuming food, our shelter, and transportation will be dramatically impacted by climate change. The weather patterns are expected to change because there are going to be longer dry periods, heavier rain, and more areas of warmer temperature. Extreme weather is going to become more prominent, and carbon dioxide levels have already increased and are expected to continue rising. The frequency of weeds, pesticides, and plant diseases are also expected to increase.
Climate change is becoming an increasingly important topic that affects everyone's daily lives. America is used to a steady weather climate to maintain a supply of food to feed the country, but climate change can affect the way we currently harvest crops. With an increase in extreme weather events, we are seeing building quality crumble. We use transportation every day to ship and receive items, travel, and contributes itself to climate change.
The temperature is going to increase in most areas, which will promote the growth of more crops year-round. The plants that are grown in the southern states are going to be able to move north because they will not freeze, but the weather may cause there to be less arable land, which will cause a smaller crop yield.
Climate change has caused an increase in heat waves, droughts, strong winds, and heavy rains. This is going to destroy any farming land and already growing crops. Fighting Mother Nature is a battle that is not going to be won, and it is going to make it more challenging to gain access to food. Droughts and heat waves are going to produce an increase in the cost of produce. Lack of food in underdeveloped countries is one of the leading causes of malnutrition among its citizens. Strong winds and rains will physically damage the leaves and stems on a plant, affecting or stopping their growth. Nutrition in the soil needed to nurture the plants will drain in runoff or be diluted by flooding to the point of uselessness. Heavy rains cause a similar effect by flooding out the soil and taking away the nutrition and the crop's ability to absorb the products they need.
Prior to the Industrial Revolution, carbon dioxide was measured at 280 parts per million by volume, and currently the levels are around 380 parts per million by volume. Plants use carbon dioxide to grow through photosynthesis, and this increase will cause them to grow better, but that also means that there is less access to nutrition and water for them to grow.
Along with edible crop yields increasing due to higher CO2 levels, the amount and kinds of weeds are expected to increase as well. They are going to be drawn to the areas where crops are being nurtured, as well as pests. The warmer weather is going to be a great place for harmful insects carrying plant diseases to rapidly reproduce.
The increase in extreme weather events brings about the need for enhanced or upgraded construction in the future.
Rising temperatures are melting ice caps, causing a rise in water levels, which brings a threat of mudslides, seeping, and flooding in homes. Rising water levels means more flooding, and excess water will need to be directed away from homes and businesses. Extreme weather weakens buildings over time, and old buildings won't meet future safety requirements. With long-lasting heat waves, indoor climate control will need to be enhanced or upgraded. Building materials will become more costly and scarce. Higher temperatures create longer curing periods for concrete.
Although transportation plays a role in furthering climate change, adversely, climate change plays a role in hindering transportation.
Transportation infrastructures account for roughly 1/5 of the world's greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change. The United States are leading this figure by a long shot. It is estimated that nearly 2/3 of daily oil consumption is used for transportation purposes. The majority of infrastructures around the globe are planned, sketched, and built to withstand a variety of weather conditions, but with those conditions constantly changing, plans for new structures may be unfit for these new weather conditions, especially with the uncertainty of weather in the future. With unfit infrastructures, deterioration may very well be seen early into the structure's existence, making for an unsafe route.
Climate change has been extremely controversial over the years because the scientists responding to it cannot agree on how well the data represents the past, present, and future conditions. The temperature of the Earth has remained rather flat for the past 17 years. There has been a 50% increase in Arctic ice volume since 2012, which depicts that the ice caps are not melting. In some regions in 2014, record snowfall and cold temperatures were documented. With an ever-changing environment, how can anyone, no matter their education, predict what the weather will be like in the future, especially when their so-called evidence comes from computer-generated models that were created by climatologists in the first place?
There are already a plethora of signs that climate change is affecting our lives. From scientific research of rising sea levels, increased heat index, and more disastrous weather events, to populations that are already being negatively impacted by the lack of ability to obtain food, have a safe and strong shelter, and to be able to get from A to B, it is clear that climate change is a relevant issue of concern to the planet and its inhabitants.